Hi, my name is Brian. I'd like you to tell me your name and how and when, your position, and how and when did Youth Nation begin?
Yeah, so my name is Gideon Ketonga, and I'm the Secretary General of Youth Nation. So, Youth Nation is an organization that we started back in 2015, and the objective was for us to be able to look at how we can be able to address issues that were bedeviling the Kenyan youth. So in 2015, when we sat down with the president of the Youth Nation, Mr. David Duati, we thought that the Kenyan youth needed a platform by which their issues could be aired, a platform by which we could be able to address most of the concerns that the youth had at that time. So unemployment was an issue. We had social ills like prostitution, high rate of drug abuse, and all this manner of GBV issues among young couples. And we felt that we needed a place that we can look to do this, including the participation of the youth in politics. We felt that they were being alienated. And the overall issue boils down to the quality of life that the young people are able to live in this country when it comes to what their economic empowerment as pertains to economic empowerment. So we felt that Youth Nation would be a platform that would be able to address this kind of concerns for the young people. And that's why we decided to be able to create Youth Nation and come forward and be able to support our fellow youth.
Okay, so I'm glad that you told me the key reasons and motivations to set up the Youth Nation. I'd also want to know what has been like your key strategic objectives and some of the programs that you've had on Youth Nation, and of course, what's the impact like?
Thank you very much for the question. So one of the things, as I've said in my preamble, is to address key issues that concern the youth. So the key strategic objectives that we set forth to be able to achieve, number one, was economic empowerment of the Kenyan youth. That was the first thing that we really wanted to be able to do. Number two was to solve the social ills of our people, or rather of the Kenyan youth. And number three was to look at how can how can the Kenyan youth be able to participate in politics, in elective politics, and above all, be able to be in leadership positions, to be able to influence what their destiny and their future is supposed to be. So those are the key strategic objectives that we had, and we went ahead to be able to do this. For example, if you look at the economic empowerment pillar, we rolled out a program that we called Pesa Kazi. Pesa Kazi was a program that we sought to be able to connect the youth to opportunities. And when the government came up with the ACPO program, we felt that these young people needed to have access to these tenders and these opportunities. And we felt that we can be able to deploy technology for the purpose of them being able to access these opportunities. And beyond that, Pesakazi was about helping the young people finance those particular tenders. You know, a young person has no money to be able to do this kind of tenders, to finance them. So we thought we give them access to these opportunities, but above all, we can be able to negotiate credit facilities that can be able to finance this particular tender. So through Pesakazi, we had an elaborate plan around how we really wanted to be able to help the Kenyan youth. And we've been able to do so looking at both aspects of them accessing this opportunity, looking at policy frameworks that we can be able to influence for the purpose of us being able to create employment opportunities for them, looking at how we can be able to support entrepreneurs who are young people in terms of how are they able to access credit and capacity building for them to be able to run their businesses successfully. When you look at the social cause, we rolled out a very elaborate program in 2017, which we called Zuia Norma. Zuia Norma was us trying to educate our fellow young people that they should not involve themselves in violence, that they should not be used by the politicians to cause violence during that particular election period. So Zuia Norma came out really well and of course played a big role in ensuring that 2017 elections were successful, and we tried to educate our Kenyan youth onto why they should not be involved in any violence at that particular time. Zuia Norma also addressed issues of drug abuse. It addressed issues of gender-based violence. We sensitized our young people on why they should not be able to indulge themselves into drug abuse, why they should be able to have good socially responsible relationships with their people to prohibit these kind of things. Then when you look at the policy formulation strategic objective, through our president, Mr. David Duarte, we were able to push our agenda to have the youth fund, the Uwezo fund, broken down to become the Biashara fund. We led that move to ensure that it actually became a Biashara fund. We were very key at being able to formulate the SME bill to ensure that small businesses are able to be funded. And we have put our voice around the crowdfunding rules that are currently being processed by the Capital Markets Authority to ensure how does our youth are able to raise money by leveraging the capital market sector. So there's a lot of work that we've been able to do for the last 5 years, and we feel that there is more that we can be able to do moving forward.
So I'd like you to talk to me about some of the challenges that have actually hampered your programs at Youth Nation. We've had a couple of issues with the young people not knowing what an opportunity looks like. We've had people not even knowing how their next 5 years will look like. So what's your plan for the young people even in the next 5 years as we project?
Yeah, so some of the challenges that have bedeviled our programs. Number one, we could start from education and literacy levels of our Kenyan youth. It's become very difficult for us to spend a lot of resources in sensitization, in outreach programs, to be able to educate the youth about the kind of opportunities that are there for them. So one of the key issues has been the financial and investment literacy levels of our people. You know, in school, nobody learns about finance, you know, and we've had to take an extra mile to be able to educate our people. And again, not many people are very much aware about, interested in the kind of programs that we are running. And therefore, we have had to educate them. Number two, it's been a challenge around funding and financing. So financing of our programs has been a big issue. And we've been trying to work with the government to be able to get funding there, trying to work with the organizations to try and get financing to be able to run our programs. And we are thinking now, how can we make Youth Nation more sustainable in the future? How can Youth Nation be able to generate its own income so that our programs can have more impact and our programs can be able to get to the ground? Number three is government support. Government support has been a key challenge for us. We would like the government to be able to acknowledge organizations that are supporting the youth, because we have stakeholders in this government. It is important that we are acknowledged and that we are supported, so that even we have a forum to be able to air our issues and be able to communicate. We represent a big chunk of our 7.5 million Kenyans who are adult youths, people who are working. These are people we need to be able. So government support comes in handy as a key enabler for us to be able to do the kind of programs that we really want to do.
That's really amazing. I'd like to move on to the economic front. And of course, economic empowerment has been such an issue because some people don't even know what empowerment is.
Yes.
And when you're trying to do the empowerment, there are some of the challenges that you face. I wouldn't like you to start with the challenges though. I'd like you to just talk about how today's youth have a vast pool of energy and is the most affected by unemployment and joblessness. Why is it so? People would like to know.
Yes, so the Kenyan youth are the majority of people, but they have been affected with unemployment. If you look at the recent statistics that we have over 63% of Kenyans who are now languishing in poverty compared to 38% in 2013. So it means poverty levels have gone up. And unemployment levels have also gone up. More people are now unemployed. We have 1.4 million people who are not in any form of employment. So this has become quite of a big challenge. And the reason why this is so, it stems from government policy, how government seeks to be able to support the aspects that could be able to promote economic empowerment for the young people. So when you look at economic empowerment for young people, there are two pillars that support that. So there is youths that are seeking for employment, and there are youths who are in entrepreneurship. You get those are the key two ways by which youth can have money in the pocket. So when you look at entrepreneurship, there has been very little support in supporting small businesses, the SMEs. Why? Why am I saying so? Because a small business, its biggest challenge in Kenya is startup capital. There is no financial institution that is willing to finance any startup because it has no cash flow and it has no revenue. So which means you're not viable. Your credit score is not good for you to be able to get anything. Those are the areas where, and you know, most of these small businesses are owned by young people. It is young, innovative men in the university, young men who have come from school, from university, from high school, who are trying small jobs. They have no startup capital. That's an area that needs to be plugged if we are going to gainfully be able to employ young people. When you talk about employment, when you look at the employment factor, the employment has been a key concern because there has not been productivity in the economy. There has not been substantial investment in productive areas of the economy. If you look at manufacturing, where most of the jobs are supposed to come from, no investment. Our manufacturing has gone down to 7%, down from 9% in 2017. The Big Four agenda was supposed to be able to, one of the pillars is manufacturing, to be able to create jobs. We had the housing program that was supposed to also create millions of jobs from that program. That program has not been initiated yet. And I think the fact that we've not been able to do this kind of programs, employment rates have gone down. And of course, if you look at what Corona has been able to do, there has not been a robust mechanism to be able to cushion the unemployed Kenyan youths. And if you look at, if you compare that to the United States and other advanced economies, the unemployed people are cushioned, but in Kenya they are not. So they end up languishing in poverty, and no wonder our poverty levels are now up to 3%. Yes.
So I'll still insist on you making your answers a little bit short so that we can move on to the next one.
Okay.
Of course, there is a bunch of young people who want to contribute to the economy. How can they do that? And of course, what's the role of the government in trying to make sure that these young people are improve their economic status?
Yes. So one of the things that we believe as Youth Nation, there is a lot that the government needs to do to be able to ensure active participation of the youth in the economy of this country. The youth are the majority. 75% of our population is made up of the youth. And these youth are energetic. They have the energy to be able to work. The government needs to put in deliberate, actionable, practical measures to ensure that the youth have the resources they require for them to participate positively in our economy. If it comes to the employment sector, we have the National Employment Authority. We are asking the National Employment Authority to institute its mandate. They need to be able to have a database where they have registered every young person. We need the government to come in and institute tax incentives to companies that are willing to offer internship opportunities to our young people. We are churning over 1 million young people to the job market every year. But we cannot be able to create enough jobs for all of them. But they need skills, because even when they are going to be employed, they need to be able to participate in their job productively, and that is skills. So we want tax intensive incentives for companies that are going to be able to hire and employ our young people on internship programs, because they are paying these people who are unskilled, and they are able to work with skilled people, so they get to improve their skills, and that way they can be able to be absorbed. The other thing we are talking about employment is, let the government invest in productive areas of the economy. Manufacturing, it is an area where we need, for example, agribusiness is a big sector that can employ a lot of people. We need subsidies to be put into agribusiness so that we can be able to improve our production. That will definitely be able to impact positively in the entire supply chain. And that means that we go into agro-processing. Going into agro-processing, we'll have DFI, foreign direct investments coming in here for companies that are willing to set up plants for processing our agro products. And that way we can be able to create more jobs for our young people. If it's the housing fund, we need the issues around the housing fund sorted out, because we have commitments of up to 4 trillion shillings by private investors who are willing to put money into our housing program. So we need that activated, because we have put 500,000 young people through our TVETs for the purpose of them going through basic skills. We have masons, we have carpenters, we have all these people who can be absorbed through the housing program. That is what we are talking about.
And I appreciate you for that kind of tempo and tone, because that's how I feel actually as a young person. And I'd like to just compare years back when it was easier to even start a family when you're in campus.
Yes.
So for people, they started their life a little bit too early.
Yes.
But today, the young minds are impoverished. Not that they are not bright. This is information age. They are really bright, but they're incapable of taking care of their basic needs. Like, hata umeona hiyo story ya Tuma Fair and stuff like that. It's something, it's more cultural because of how we economically positioned. What really went wrong economically? We were doing better than Singapore at the same time, say in the 70s.
Yes.
Right now, it's a big bluff for the young people. And what has the current regime put in place that we should actually that should be entrenched for the benefit of the youth?
Yes, I agree with you, Brian. And one of the
So you can't say that.
yes, oh,
You
okay.
can just say you agree with me, but not Brian.
I agree with you. So when you look at the 1970s, 1968, our economy was performing very well. Actually, at some point, we were in the leagues of Singapore, we were in the leagues of all these countries. But if you look at, I would squarely put the blame on leadership. It all boils down to leadership. And that's the reason why one of the key strategic pillars of Youth Nation is active participation of the youth in leadership positions. So the kind of leadership we have as a country gets to impact on a kind of an economy that we have. So we have had leadership that has not appreciated the young person. We have had a leadership that does not recognize the needs of the young people. We have had a leadership that is archaic, very conservative by any nature. They have not been able to advance as fast as we wanted. We have had tumbocrats leading this country. And it is
I like what you've said, and I'd like to ask something.
Yes.
Is it by design that we are conservative, or is it by nature? Because by design means that the system is not broken, it's been designed to be like that. And is it by nature in that the young people are not aggressive?
Yeah, so I really think it's a combination of the young people are not aggressive, but it's also a factor of design. The kind of leadership we have had in this country has been a selfish leadership that seeks to be able to benefit just a few people. So a few people get to benefit from the economy, and everybody doesn't get to benefit. So you get people coming up with programs that are only meant for a few people, and everybody else is others in this country. Those are the things that we are saying that they need to be there. But I also agree that the youth have not been aggressive as they ought to be. And I think it's because of the information gap that you've talked about. Youths are more inclined to a hip-hop kind of a life instead of being hands-on. They don't get to put themselves on their hustle. And this is something that the Kenyan youth really need to be able to do. And it's our objective to tell the youth, there is nothing that will come to you on a silver platter. You have to work hard, you have to go and look for opportunities, you have to make the effort. And that's just what we're saying. We will be holding forums as Youth Nation across the country. We are asking the youth to take up take up action and come to our forums and get these opportunities. You're not going to get opportunities if we are in your town and you not come for our meetings. We need you, the youth, to come, get information. We are going to give you actionable stuff that you can be able to execute, right? We are going to give you partners that we are working with in the finance sector who can finance your business. We will bring investors whom you can come and pitch your ideas to. But you have to do your business plan. You have to be able to do your research. You have to be able to present a plan that can work for you to get financed. So you have to put yourself out there as a youth, and we need to stop complaining. However, as Youth Nation, it is our responsibility to ensure that we change leadership. The leadership that has been there, that has been biased, that has been selfish, and has not been putting opportunities to be available for every young person. We are ensuring through our president, Mr. David Duarte, that we are going to have more youth in parliament this time. We are going to have more youth in county assemblies this time. We are going to ensure that we have youth in the Senate this time, because we want youth to be in leadership and to be able to look at the specific issues that are affecting the youth and ensure that the government has concern and the government has been brought its attention, has been put to those. We are 75%, the majority of this nation. We are going to form the majority who are going to vote in the next government of this country. We cannot afford to be sidelined anymore, and we say no to that.
I like what you said. I like the tone that you're using. But we might talk about unemployment and how the government plays a role. What can the government do? One, to make sure that we cushion the young people against the knick-knack pain of the economy. And also, what has Youth Nation done to contribute to solving this issue called youth unemployment? And what is our place in politics? In the place of politics, the youth economic empowerment, because there is the aspect of politics, there is the aspect of what the government can do, and there is what Youth Nation has done. So I'd like you to just give a breath to that.
There is a lot that the government can do to be able to help the young people become gainfully employed in this country and to improve the quality of life. And I've talked about all about employment, and I said one other way of creating employment is through SME empowerment, looking at SME businesses, micro, small and medium enterprises. That's an area that the government has not put a lot of effort in. If you look at the funding that comes into SME businesses, 80%, 87% of that funding is from family and friends. Most people who are starting businesses today are funded by family and friends. The government only takes 1%. The banks takes only 4% of the startup capital funding for small businesses. So if you look at the young people, they have been educated by their parents. And all these people are now dependents because they're depending on this young person. And then you're telling the young person to go and look for startup capital from their network of friends and family. How do they raise that money? The government must raise its contribution to startup capital from 1% to almost 20 to 35%. Why? Because financial institutions are not going to invest in any risk business, because a startup business has no revenue and has no cash flows. Therefore, there is no investment that is going to come in there. So government must be able to do that. And we like what the Jubilee government has been able to do. They have started the credit guarantee scheme, where now they are able to guarantee loans for small and medium enterprises that do not have collaterals, and they can be able to get those loans. But again, even if you're giving a loan to a startup business, it has no cash flow and it has no revenue. It needs 3 years to be able to gain traction. So number one, we are talking about the government putting direct money, and that's the reason why the Youth Nation, through its president David Duarte, has been pushing for the Biashara Fund. We are talking about the Youth Trust Bank that is going to finance startup youth businesses, youth-led businesses. We give you startup capital, we give you a grace period for you to repay back. We'll even go to the extent that we are going to do equity ownership into youth-led businesses. We give you capital as equity in your business. We're going to open up the incubation space, and we're going to use the Huduma centers to provide capacity building, bring forward foreign direct investment through venture capital, to invest in equity for small and for small and medium enterprises. Those are areas that I think the government can play a huge role in helping small businesses to be able to grow and help the young people be able to participate in the economy. What is the Youth Nation doing? Youth Nation is making deliberate efforts, number one, in lobbying government policy, towards ensuring that this kind of interventions that you're talking about are executed. Number two, Youth Nation will be conducting county workshops and sub-county workshops to educate the young people on the opportunities that are there for them, to educate them on what opportunities are available for them. We will take that responsibility. Number three, Youth Nation is going to be actively involved with partners in providing some of these services that we're talking about. For example, Youth Nation will be rolling out a financial planning solution for our young people. Currently, we are negotiating a program that will ensure that over 4.2 million young people are delisted, are negatively delisted from CRB. We are lobbying the government to ensure that their loans are repaid. We are lobbying the government to ensure that all our young people are credit worthy. You know, for the last 10 years, cheap capital, easily accessible capital has been made available, but it opened doors for sharks, for people to come and exploit our young people. We are closing that door, and we are saying Youth Nation is doing a practical solution by ensuring Kenyans and the young people are delisted from CRB. And we're not going to stop there. From there, we will proceed now to offer a financial planning tool available through a mobile application, where you can start saving, you can start investing, and you can come together as a group. And we have provided a monitoring and evaluation team that will ensure that the projects that these groups are participating in are monitored and they get the funding that they require. So those are kind of the practical solutions that Youth Nation, through its various partners in this sector, is going to be involved in.
Okay, so finally on the economic empowerment front, I'd like to know what is the place of politics in the youth economic empowerment? Because I know there's the over the table kind of conversations, and over the table is zero youth representation. We are not on the table. Under the table is we are the face of we are the face of the youthful politics.
Yeah.
But we are not the power. So you elect a young person into political position, but they don't have the power. So there is on the table and under the table, which does not make perfect sense for me because it affects me economically.
Yeah.
So I'm most likely not going to be interested in politics because one, I'm hungry.
Yeah.
And when I'm interested, I'm only interested in the handouts because I'm hungry.
Yeah. So when you talk about youth and politics, what is the place of politics in the life of the youth, in the economic life of our young people? If you look at the statistics, the young people that are actually registered to participate in the election of 2022, there are fewer youths participating in the election than the youth who are actually listed on CRB.
You can just say that again.
Yes, there are fewer young people who are registered as voters than those than those that are actually listed on CRB. It is a devastating statistics. It is a worrying statistics because the young people think there is no correlation between politics and their quality of life, and that's a misnomer. It is a misinformation that the youth have been fed, and it is one of the things that Youth Nation seeks to be able to eradicate and seeks to alienate. Politics as a is directly proportional to the quality of life you lead. The leaders that you have influence the kind of life that you lead. The president that you elect, the MP that you elect, the MC that you elect is directly proportional. And that's the reason why Youth Nation, through its leader, David Duarte, we are saying this, that we are going to invest in this election of 2022 to ensure that we have more young people actively being involved in politics, in our county governments, in our parliament, and in our senate, to ensure that they are on the leadership table. We will not allow anymore for politicians to use young people to go on the field and campaign for only 200 shillings, but when decisions have to be made on who is going to get which tender and this other tender or this opportunity, the youths are not on the table. It is something that as Youth Nation we've said it's not going to happen again. It is something we are making deliberate decision to be able to do. And our Youth Nation president, Mr. David Duarte, KD, is ensuring that this election is the defining moment for our young people. We need them to be able to participate. Those that have registered as voters, let them participate in this election. And we are going to go out there and campaign for all young aspirants everywhere across the country, because we need them in parliament, regardless of which political party they belong to. The agenda here is to ensure that they're in parliament so that they are at the decision-making table. When we present our proposals or our bills in parliament as Youth Nation, the young people should be voting for those bills because they're going to change the lives of so many other young people. So we are saying Youth Nation is going to be actively be involved in this particular election. And in the next 5 years, we will work on sensitizing the young people on why politics is directly proportional to the quality of life you live, to the job that you're going to do, to the kind of a house you live in, to the holiday you're going to go to the kind of school you're going to take your child. It is directly proportional to everything that concerns your life.
So we are prepping for an election year. Everyone talks about youth and elections, but there is a lot of threats to the young people during the elections. They are the most affected. It's the youth, then the women and the children. We don't know where our Baba Wanakongo meant at that time, but we'd like to know what are the threats to the youth, especially during elections.
Yeah, so there are so many threats that the youth face during an election year, and one of them is being misused by the politicians. You know, the fact that, as we've discussed throughout this interview, is that the youth have been disenfranchised economically. So the fact that you don't have money, then you become susceptible to be able to receive handouts and be able to cause violence. So we've seen the youth being misused in terms of them being used to cause hatred and violence within our communities. We've seen them being used to abuse other people, and these are some of the threats that are there for the youth. The allure of easy money, as also seen youths who go around following the politicians everywhere, and every time they get a shilling, they just go into drugs, you know, into drugs. We've seen that the politicians, because they are desperate for numbers, right, they end up encouraging the youth to participate in acts that are not supposed to they're not supposed to participate in. And you know, as there have been so many idle young people because of the rates of unemployment, then the youth are always on the ground. You know, an idle mind is a devil's workshop. They are into crime, they are into all these things, and right now there is funding for that crime. There is funding for that crime because you have competitors who would want to bring down other competitors, and that becomes fodder for the politicians to be able to make this youth. The other biggest threat is the ethnic balkanization threat. youths are being galvanized based on their ethnic backgrounds. I think this is something that and politicians do this deliberately because they want to galvanize their votes around ethnic groups, and therefore they try and balkanize the youth on ethnic lines. Even youths who never thought of their next friend as someone from another ethnic group, now they get to do that, and that kind of training or rhetoric is harmful because we are passing tribalism from one generation to another, and this is going to impact us in the future.
So, what would you rather the youth do in place of politics and elections? What do you think is a role that they can actually carry forward positively?
Yeah, I think one of the things that the youth really need to focus themselves on is policy. We need to be able to look at what policies are going to guide this nation and determine its destiny for the next 5 years. What we need to be engaging our politicians on is what policy are you putting on the table that is going to ensure that I have money in my pocket, that I have resources to be able to cater for my family. So what the youth should be concerning themselves about is questioning what policy is which formation is presenting on the table, what practical solutions are being put on the table. That's what the youth need to focus themselves on. But beyond that, I really think it's a tragedy that we said that not many youths are being involved in the electoral process because there are very few youth that have been registered. If you look at the IBC registration, they only registered 1.5 million people when they had 6 million new youths to register. So they only did almost 30% of their target. So the youth are not they're not optimistic about what the government seeks to be able to potence, and I think they need to concern themselves more with what government is all about, what politics is all about, the policies that are being propagated by the various political leaders, so that they can be able to decide where their destiny is going to be.
I like how you've answered that, but as a young person, I'm not interested in participating in politics for the simple reasons it's been done over and over, or the system will choose the president, and I won't benefit from it. So what has hampered the youth participation in politics and elections?
So what has hampered the youth participation in politics is the rhetoric that there is a system, that there will be no change, nothing will change, that whoever comes into power will not affect my life, that all these things. But it is true that our past are shown that very little can actually change with these regime changes. But in the recent past, we have seen tremendous changes in our constitution. For example, if you look at how our election laws have been structured this time around, rigging an election in this country is going to become a tall order. Therefore, the voice of the people will actually count on the ballot. And I can tell my fellow youth, there is no system that will steal an election for anybody. It is your vote that will actually be able to count. Number two thing that I want to tell my fellow young people, it is that the person in leadership influences your life. The reason why you do not see any change is because you do not vote. When you do not vote, you are voting in the wrong leader. When you do not register as a voter, you have voted the wrong leader into power. It is high time you take a vote and actually be able to vote for the leader that you want. Because the leader that you want is the leader that will bring the change that you want. The change that you want is in your vote. So if you don't participate, then you are encouraging the normal concerns that have been there to continue. You're bringing on board bad leadership into this country. And that's the reason we are not able to turn a leaf very fast as we should. That's the reason we are not able to go as fast as Singapore, as fast as Hong Kong. We should be going as fast if you can vote. So it is you, the young person, that is not that is becoming a failure for this country. If you do not vote, you are a failure in this nation, and you should be able to participate.
Nice, I like that. You've just shared stats about the percentages of the young people in Kenya. You've shared about the guys who've registered. It's still reflective that the young people have a voice, and they determine who wins their elections. If at all we get like a 100% voter turnout, or not even voter registration, then voter turnout. Even if we have like 100% voter turnout and we have 85% voter registration, then we're still safe. But in as much as we do all those things, there's the exclusion of us when they're sharing the spoils.
Yes.
So I'm participating. I'm a good citizen. I'm giving 100%. I'm encouraging fellow young people to come and actually be part of the elections. Then when it comes to sharing the spoils, we are told kaeni pale nyinyi bado ni vijana. What's your take on that?
Kazi kwa vijana, pesa kwa wazee. That has been what ile kitu ambayo imesemekana. So the reason why the youth get disenfranchised when it comes to them being able to share in the spoils of elections, and the reason why, regardless of the youth forming the majority of the voting bloc, is because they are not actively involved in the elective politics to be at the table. So there is them being at the table, them being the leaders. So the issue is that the young people are not leaders. They're not at the table to make those decisions. And that's the reason why we are saying Youth Nation will play a critical role in ensuring that in this election, we have a lot of young people getting into leadership positions so that when the spoils has been shared at the table, the youth have a say. So if you're saying 30% of the opportunities should go to the youth, no, we are saying no, we want 50% of those opportunities. We are, for crying out loud, we are 75% of this republic. So why should we get 30%? Why are we getting the wrong end of the stick? So it is the youth. If we have the youth in leadership position, they will say no, it should be 50%. If it's about laws and regulations that can be able to support small businesses, they will support those small businesses. So we are not going to have issues like we've been able to have right now, where actually the leaders we have, they think about the youth when an election is around the corner. They don't think about the youth when it's time to do work. So having young leaders in leadership positions will ensure that the young people are able to share in the spoils of elections and politics in Kenya.
And as much as you're saying all these things, I feel like I'm a young person, I should be a stakeholder, and I'm still not considered a stakeholder in political decisions and the decision-making process. And I fully know that, for you to become for you to get a parliamentary seat, you depend on me. So you depend on me, but I'm not a stakeholder. I think you've answered it on that other question. But I'd like to also know, like, what's the incentive from Youth Nation to make sure that we actively participate in youth and politics, or youth in politics and its elections. So I'd like to know what's Youth Nation doing.
Yes,
because I'm a stakeholder. I'm not a stakeholder, but you depend on me.
Yes, so there are a lot of challenges when it comes to youth being able to participate in politics. For example, one of the things is that politics is capital intensive in this country. It's one of the sectors that if you get into politics, you really need to be loaded with very good cash flow. So money has become a problem because our politics is more of cash and money. So that has been quite of a challenge. Number two is perception. People think that the youth are not good leaders. The youth cannot make good decisions. There's a saying that always says that when a young man is on top of a tree, he cannot see as far as an old man sitting down. You get it? So it's been a culture and it's a perception that young people are not good leaders naturally. So these are the things that Youth Nation is talking about being able to address. Number one, we understand the young people don't have the money to be able to participate in these elections. Youth Nation has come in very strongly to be able to support some of the young aspirants that we thought have potential in paying nomination fees in parties. That's an area that we felt we should be able to support. And what we are saying now is we are going to support them when it comes to actual campaigns, because they don't have the money to do the campaigns. We will be on the ground as Youth Nation campaigning for our young aspirants, regardless of which political party they belong to, because we know that they are people with more money than they do have, and we want to give them tangible support for them to be in parliament, for them to be as MCAs, for them to be in Senate. So we are going to give them that. When it comes to perception, we are raising leaders within the Youth Nation ranks. We are raising leaders, and we are investing to the level where we are taking our young leaders into international leadership workshops, where they are taught leadership skills, where young people are given opportunities to be able to work in leadership positions. So this is the kind of practical solutions that Youth Nation is bringing into this country to ensure that the youth become active participants in politics. Thank you.
So I'd like you to just give us a finishing statement. You're the Secretary General for
Yes.
the Youth Nation.
Yes.
What's your encouragement to the young people? I'm a young person watching all these things, and I feel like this Gen couldn't come and jump. But I'm a young person out there. I'm chilling in my crib right now. I'm looking at you, and I'd like you to just tell me, what's your dream for us, and what should we do? What should we be hopeful for?
Yes, so my closing remarks for my fellow youths at home, there is a lot of hope for the young people of this country. and we can be able to change the destiny of our country, and we can change the destiny of our lives. We can live the life that we want. We can have enough money in our pockets to afford the kind of a life that we want. It is possible, it is doable, but we have to be able to take action. It is time that we as the youth stand up for ourselves and be counted for who we are in this country. And I'm encouraging every youth out there to join the Youth Nation, to join and support our cause. We are here the custodians of your agreement with your government. We will ensure that all the promises that are being made to the youth are implemented and they benefit you as the young person. And the leaders that we are presenting to you as Youth Nation are the leaders who are going to support your cause. It is important that you vote for those leaders, because as Youth Nation, as long as you've been supporting them, we will ensure that they deliver on their mandate to you. And our goal is to ensure that you have the money you need to be able to live the life that you want for yourself and for your family.